In 2014, Theranos was worth $9 billion. Its board included 2 former Secretaries of State, a former Secretary of Defense, a 4-star general, and a retired Navy admiral. Its investors included the Walton family, Rupert Murdoch, the DeVos family, and Carlos Slim. None of them were stupid, and none of them checked. This is File 005. Elizabeth Holmes dropped out of Stanford at 19. She told her professor of chemical engineering she wanted to build a device that could run hundreds of blood tests from a single drop. The professor told her the physics didn't support it. She left anyway. Within a year, she had her first check. Tim Draper, a venture capitalist who happened to be a family neighbor, wrote her $1 million, not because the technology worked, because she reminded him of someone. The black turtleneck, the unblinking eye contact, the deliberate, measured cadence of someone who had studied Steve Jobs the way a method actor studies a character. She even lowered her voice, a full octave below her natural register. A Stanford professor who knew her as a freshman said, "When she came to me, she didn't have a low voice. The voice was an instrument, and it worked." By 2006, Theranos had raised over $40 million. But the real unlock wasn't money, it was a name. In July 2011, Holmes was introduced to George Shultz, former Secretary of State under Ronald Reagan, former Secretary of the Treasury under Richard Nixon. She met with him for 2 hours. He joined the board that month. Here is where the cascade begins. Over the next 3 years, Shultz personally introduced almost every outside director on the Theranos board. Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State. William Perry, former Secretary of Defense. Sam Nunn, former United States Senator. Bill Frist, former Senate Majority Leader and a heart transplant surgeon. Jim Mattis, 4-star Marine General, who would later become Secretary of Defense. Gary Rughead, retired Admiral. Richard Kovacevic, former Chairman and CEO of Wells Fargo. Not one of them was a blood scientist. Not one of them could evaluate the Edison machine. But each of them looked to their left, saw the person beside them, and assumed someone in the room had done the diligence. This is groupthink at its most elegant. The bias doesn't need you to be foolish. It needs you to be rational. Because the most rational thing you can do when Henry Kissinger and George Shultz are already at the table is assume the table has already been vetted. It hadn't. The Edison machine was supposed to run over 200 tests from a single finger prick of blood. In reality, Theranos was quietly running most of its tests on traditional Siemens machines bought off the shelf. The finger prick samples were being diluted to fill standard-sized tubes. The results were so unreliable that in 2016, the company voided 2 full years of patient test data. Federal regulators said those voided tests had put patients' health and safety at immediate jeopardy. But by then, the investor list had become its own argument. The Walton family, heirs to the Walmart fortune, put in $150 million. Rupert Murdoch, $125 million. The DeVos family, $100 million. The Cox family, another $100 million. Carlos Slim, $30 million. Walgreens signed a $140 million partnership and opened 40 wellness centers carrying the Theranos name. Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, invested early. The total raised exceeded $700 million. The total value created was 0. And here's the part that should unsettle you. These aren't retail investors scrolling a message board at midnight. These are some of the most connected, most resourced decision makers on Earth. Rupert Murdoch could have called any lab director in America. Betsy DeVos had a family office with full-time due diligence analysts. The Waltons have an infrastructure that vets grocery suppliers more thoroughly than anyone vetted this company. But when 5 billionaires are already in, the 6th doesn't call the lab. They call their broker. That is what social proof does at scale. It doesn't trick you into ignoring the evidence. It makes seeking evidence feel unnecessary. The room has already decided. Your only job is to not be the one who missed it. One person broke the chain. Tyler Shultz was 22 years old. He was George Shultz's grandson, and he'd taken a job at Theranos because his grandfather believed in it. What he found inside was a company running failing quality control tests and reporting results it knew were wrong. He raised concerns internally. He was ignored. So he contacted John Carreyrou, a reporter at the Wall Street Journal. When Theranos found out, they didn't just send lawyers, they sent his grandfather. George Schultz, the man who had built the entire board, pressured his own grandson to stay silent on behalf of the company. Tyler's legal fees hit $500,000. His parents warned him the family might have to sell their home to cover his defense. He was 22 years old, standing against a $9 billion company, its legal team, and his own family name. He didn't stop. In October 2015, Carreyrou published the first expose in the Wall Street Journal. The cascade that had built Theranos now reversed. Walgreens terminated, the FDA investigated, the SEC charged Holmes with massive fraud. In January 2022, a jury found her guilty on 4 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy, all of them for defrauding investors. In November of that year, she was sentenced to 11 years and 3 months in federal prison. She was ordered to pay $452 million in restitution to the people who trusted the room. George Schultz, before he died in 2021, said his grandson had shown allegiance to higher values than the company. He never formally apologized, but he admitted he'd been wrong. It was the closest thing to a correction the Cascade ever produced. The bias that built Theranos was not greed. It was not ignorance. It was trust, placed in the wrong unit. They trusted the room instead of the evidence. And every new name in that room made the next name feel safer. Until a 22-year-old with no title and no leverage decided to trust something the room had been ignoring for a decade. The data